Welcome again here at beautiful Camp Rogers, right next to Wetton Hall on Fort Benning, Georgia. And we are ready and watching. You'll see Rangers in the background. These are all Best Ranger competitors. I'll be competing in the 41st annual Lieutenant General retired David E. Grange Jr. Best Ranger competition. My favorite event of the year. Yours as well.
This is the highlight every year.
Oh, I think we got a little feedback going there.
We do. Yeah.
Let's see what we got. Okay, it's just rocking.
It's good. Nothing like knocking out the kinks with the technology before we get started. It's good. Yeah. So wow, it's crazy. What a nice day. Mornings are perfect for this stuff. Man, these guys are gonna have such a great day tomorrow. 41st year of doing this thing, and I can't believe it's been 32 years since I did it. Man, but the competition's it hasn't changed. I mean, things have changed in the competition, but the basis of the competition, the basis of everything that's happening with it, I mean, technology's changed, but the grit, the determination, the will to fight on to the Ranger objective, right? Even though you be the lone survivor, it's there.
I think for most people, if I'm new to it, what is the Best Ranger competition? Is it just a bunch of individuals who are picked from the Army and they can volunteer to come here? And like, what is the overall theme of it, and what are we doing here?
Yeah, it's crazy. And I don't imagine it's changed. In fact, the stuff I see tells me it hasn't. But you go back to you go back to back to these guys all came from wherever their home units are.
Yep. Ranger school graduate.
Right. Of course, yeah. Ranger school graduate. That's a minimum requirement.
Minimum.
Right? And then these guys back at their home units go through this selection process.
Yep.
Right. So they say, "Yep, I'm Ranger qualified. I want to go try out and be on a Best Ranger team to represent their unit, right? Their division, their headquarters." So they compete, and out of those divisions, right out there in the Army, the top two, maybe 3 teams come to represent their unit.
Which that's a great point. This year, one change from years past. Starting in 2019, you could only compete in this competition a maximum of 3 times. This year, they changed it. They said, you know what? Anybody can compete as many times as you want until you win. So our friend here, Blaine, who won in '93, sadly, you don't get to compete again. I'm sorry.
No more. Yeah, no more for me. I'm not going to say I'm too brokenhearted about it, although I would give it a go. I have looked at these guys. I don't know that I can. I'm going to do my best just to try to hang with them now over this weekend. But yeah, I don't think I'd be making the cut after day one.
Age 60, and he could probably still smoke all of this. I competed at 12, 13, 15. I still have a chance. I sadly did not win the competition. So maybe you'll be streaming me next year sometime.
There you go. And I'll do it. I'd happily do it. And
right.
I'll have all your stats too to make sure everybody knows at home how well you're doing.
And in addition with that, this year with the new rule of anybody can compete, they adjusted it where your teams have to either be an officer and enlisted, an officer and non-commissioned officer, or a non-commissioned officer and enlisted. The only reason you're going to have any kind of 2-officer team, meaning like 2 lieutenants, 2 captains, is if they got an exception to the policy, and that was approved by the infantry commandant here at Fort Benning, allowing them to do that. So there will be a few teams that are both officers.
Right. Yeah, and there's not many of them.
No.
Right? I mean, there's some pretty unique stats that are popping out to us from this year. Jay being a numbers guy like he is, if you followed us in years past, Jay definitely has the stats. He has all the numbers on stuff. He's done some good homework already for this year's competition, and has pulled some unique numbers out of this year's competition.
So specifically with this year, there's 52 teams competing. It says teams 1 to 53. As a reminder for you new folks here, Team 13 is not a team. We're a little bit superstitious. I don't think there's ever been a Team 13. So only 52 teams. Teams with experience, meaning at least 1, maybe 2 competitors have actually competed before. 17 teams have experience. And of those teams, 5 have completed the competition before. Now, why is that important to be a team who's competed and who's finished the competition before?
Yeah, So I did it. I did the competition twice. I did it once in '92. We got lucky and ended up in fifth. I don't know how that happened, by miracle, by I don't know, grit and determination. I don't know. Rangering on to the Ranger objective, but we finished. We finished in fifth. But it's a huge learning experience usually that first year. So those teams that are coming back from a previous experience in the competition, even if you didn't make it to all the way to J3, obviously it helps because you get to see the competition in its entirety over the 3 days, so you kind of have an idea how the flow goes for the most part. Although the Ranger Airborne Ranger Training Brigade tries to change that as much as they can and keep these Rangers off balance a bit, if you will, with the format. But having that experience, getting through 3 days of hell, basically, uh, just builds for that next time you're able to come back and compete again.
I think you understand the pacing. You understand what's expected of you each day. You know that first day, Friday, is the most important day. And as a result, you put yourself in the best position to not only finish again, but possibly be able to win.
Right. And that day one is absolutely critical because that is going to set the foundation for the next 2 days after that. If you don't come out swinging on day one and put yourself up in the points well enough, by day two and day three, the delta to be able to catch up just at some point becomes unsurmountable. And then you're just battling to try to hang into the competition and finish and see the end of day three.
Speaking of scoring, I think of like we're in a Masters week, right? So golf is very easy. You score the least amount of points, you win. Watching a competition like this that has 41 different events, it's sometimes not as easy when you're watching of like who's in first place, especially because they'll be scattered across the course. You don't maybe know how well they shot, but you do know sometimes in events when they're who went the fastest or who moved the quickest or who carried the heaviest weights. So how does this event overall, 41 events, get scored or ranked or weighted? Or
Yeah, I would tell you that, and there's a lot of math that's done over this. So the staff here, when they build the competition, right, they're gonna sit there and they're gonna weight certain events that are usually harder or more technical, right, that they feel are more defined as ranger tasks, right. They're gonna take those and weight those more heavily than just basic military army tasks, usually. Um, and so you want to make sure you set yourself up in a position where you're scoring the most amount of points you can as a team on those big point gathering events, right? Because that's you got to start separating yourself from the rest of the teams, and that starts from the very first event, and from then on, you just have to try to get as many points as you can, and it's not going to always be possible just because Mother Nature's going to start taking over, and and the staff and the events themselves are going to start, bringing pain and fatigue and discomfort and muscle failure and dehydration and lack of fuel and all these things start coming in. Not to mention heat and friction for blisters and chafing and heavy rucksack. So it all starts taking a toll, and but you do your best to try to gather those points along the way and get as many as you can. And it's 3 days, so it gets really tough by those last 2 days to really pull those points in like you'd like.
And we're not going to know as competitors or even as broadcasters what the weights of each event are. But we do know from history in the past, when we have events that are very long, let's say you go on a 20-mile foot march, that's probably going to be weighted to heaviest, meaning a weight of 5 or 6. Meaning if there's 52 teams, you take first place. You do 52 teams, multiply it by 6. That first place team gets that many points, and then on and on. Whereas like axe throwing, for example, that might only be weighted 1. There's 52 teams. You take first, you get 52 points. Not as many.
Right. It's not. Yeah. The stuff that has the most risk, because if you really go for it and you fail, the penalty can be pretty unsurmountable, right? So if you go out really hard on the 20-mile foot march, for instance, and you tank at mile 15 and you really bomb and you lose a lot of positions, if it's weighted heavily like it should be, you can lose some ground, some significant ground, some so much so that you may not be able to recover from it.
something we just had the opportunity to listen into is the final task condition standard brief. So every competitor got to get a photo of this and understand the concept of the operation for days 1, 2, and 3 of this competition. This is something we've not seen before in this competition. You've been around since '93.
Right.
I've been
No.
around since 2012 or so. I've not seen something like this. Have you?
Yeah. No. That's what I was telling you when we went out and drove. We just drove the course and did kind of a little recon. And I'm telling you, like, I don't know how these guys are going to do this, but that's the beauty of it too, right? I mean, they're not only going to be physically challenged, they're gonna have to think on this one because
Adaptable, agile.
yeah, they're gonna have to figure out ways to make this work to the best possible advantage. And I mean, we're just doing the math on this, and it's crazy how much ground they're gonna have to cover on this first day tomorrow.
So we'll compare and contrast for you real quick. Very similar to years past. The first 3 events, you got the buddy run. The buddy run's an unknown distance foot march or run. Second, you have the run, swim, run, usually about run a mile and a half. You swim 400 meters, you run back a mile and a half. And then you have the Ranger Mile or the Ranger Fitness Test. So we have our new Ranger Physical Fitness Assessment Test. And in the past years, we would go in order, all of us, 1, 2,
Right.
3. This year, it's different. Once they finish the Mass Start run and they're back here at Camp Rogers, they have their own choose your own adventure. Pick which way you want to go. You can either go
Yeah.
the run, swim, run, or you can go to the Ranger Physical Fitness Assessment. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I mean, they're gonna have to make decisions. They're gonna be fatigued. They're gonna be tired already. Just that first buddy run is gonna put such a hurt on them that they're gonna be thinking under stress at that point, and then trying to figure out, okay, what do we do next? And I would tell you that there's a lot to choose from, and some decisions are going to cost teams, and some decisions are going to benefit teams. And trying to figure that out under stress, under a heavy load, under the pressure of the best Ranger competition, that's what's going to start separating that cream over the 3 days.
So those first 3 teams or the first 3 events are done, right? The only teams that will advance are the top 40 teams. So once your team has completed all 3 events, they will then check in right over here by the Malvesti and they'll say, hey, we're here. And so we'll try to provide action tomorrow is get those finish points so we know, hey, these are the top 40 teams that are in it. We can let you know back at home, like, hey, team, whatever has passed. These teams sadly didn't make it, 41st place through 52nd place. And then we can use our awesome technology, which we'll drop in the link here, called Black Ohm. And what will that help us with?
Yeah, Black Ohm is going to save our butts tomorrow for sure. That's how we're going to try to get around and get you guys everything that you want to see. Our goal here is to kind of just take the competition for those of you that can't be here and bring as much of it, through this technology and get it to you guys back at home so you can look at your favorite teams. We're gonna do our best to try to interact with you guys back at home too. We'll have the chats going. We'll try to answer what we can when we can. Obviously, we can't be everywhere. There's only 2 of us, but we're gonna do our best and try to get what we can for you.
So with that, the Black Ohm website, we'll drop the link again. It's going to have a little tracker on every single team. It's going to have the little unit insignia. It's going to say team 20, whatever your favorite team is. And you'll be able to see where they are on the course. Now, once they're done with that 3rd event, it turns into the Ranger Reckoning. What is the Ranger Reckoning?
Yeah, I don't. So this is when it really gets interesting because looking at this map, there's what is it, 15?
15 events.
Points. Yeah, 15 events that they've got to travel to, their choice, and this is where it really gets interesting because they're going to have to make decisions, figure out which ones they want to get to, which ones could have bottlenecks on them, which ones are going to be the furthest away. I mean, the decision making is so critical that they're going to have to gauge fatigue, how long it's going to take to get there. Whether they'll be able to get right on the event and cut their times down because they do have a time limit on all this, which is crazy. And what do we?
They have to finish back here, all 15 events by 7 p.m. And with it, the last event must be the Malvesti obstacle course.
Right,
So you don't get to go jump into
of course. Yeah, of course. So they go through 14 events, and then their last event has to be the Malvesti obstacle course, which is nothing but an upper body smoker.
60-foot rope,
Yeah,
ladder, monkey bars,
ridiculous.
and then the dirtiest, most disgusting mud and water mix you'll ever have in your life.
The wire. Yeah,
and then 6 chin-ups.
Yeah,
just to fix it up.
So the kicker on that though is that they've got to make this cut, right? And they've got to make these decisions in route. But what do we say? It was like we figured
We
it was
think if you do it as efficient as
this
possible, you could go
the
17 miles, but
the
if
fastest. Like
that's
if
the
you
fastest, no mistakes, no
straight
bottlenecks,
right,
nothing.
no, just as the shortest route possible was
But
17.
your route, if you're double backing, you might go 18 and a half, 19 miles.
Right.
And that's just the range of reckoning. So we didn't even count the first three events. The first three events are known about 11, 12 miles. So now we're talking 28 to 30 miles before we even get to the nighttime foot march.
Yeah. Before we even start the night stuff, they're already at close to 30 miles.
Right. So now
Ridiculous.
you all get here at 1900, 7 p.m. in the evening. I think they're going to wait for about an hour to kind of figure out those 40 teams, hopefully that have finished. And then they're going to start that nighttime foot march between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. And then years past, that nighttime foot march, it could go 12 miles, it could go 20 miles. So it's an unknown distance foot march, but that's going to be painful when you've already done 30 miles. And if you didn't finish until 7 p.m., you had no time to rest and recover.
Yeah, it's tough. Like, but that's what it's built for, right? It's built to just keep applying that stress. 3 days full of just nonstop stress the whole time, dealing with all the variables that come with a competition like this. So these guys got to really stay on top of their game. They're gonna get done with day one with at least 30 miles on their legs or close to it,
Mm-hmm.
and then turn right around and have to go, on this unknown foot march, which is just a complete mental, stress test because they're already smoked, they're already fatigued, they have no idea how far they're going. They just know it's hard and it's heavy and it's going until they get told they're done.
For most of this time, they are carrying their rucksacks. The rucksacks are generally 40 to 45 pounds. But when you add them carrying equipment, additional sponsor events in that, now we're 50 plus range, which can wear on your body pretty quickly.
And I mean, the boot technology has gotten a lot better these days. I can remember back when we did it. Yeah, OTBs, right?
Woo!
Yeah, those are the hot ticket this year. It sounds like, and they have been in years past. But I can tell you back when I did it, we were in jungle boots, and I almost got pulled out in 1992 for blisters because I had them so bad on my heels just from the old jungle boots with the steel shanks in them and stuff.
Oof.
So technology's gotten a lot better, and so these rangers are able to move a lot faster and further, and get to those ranger objectives.
So when they're done with the foot march tomorrow night, we will record the start point of the foot march tomorrow night, and then a couple mile markers, and then eventually the finish point. Just so we have done in years past, so we'll probably be up till 2 in the morning. Then they actually go directly into night stakes. Generally, we don't film it just because it's oftentimes intense. Night stakes include a weapons box, a virtual clearing operation, intersection resection on a map. They're going to tie 7 knots, and they're going to do a call for fire. When that's done, they usually sleep at 04 in the morning. They sleep about 3 hours, do some hygiene in the morning, and then they roll actually out to Doughboy Stadium, Gowdy Field. That's on main post at Fort Benning. Open everybody, super awesome event. We did it last year at the AJ McClung Station or Memorial Stadium over in Columbus. This year it's gonna be held here on Fort Benning. That's a fun day.
Yeah,
we'll have about 28 teams left.
That's actually that's a great day. It's out there, open to the public, like Jay said. But man, you can get up close and see and watch the guys doing stuff. It's all right there, captured in one little spot for everybody. And man, the stuff they do then is just some of it is just grinding hard, man.
Range of first responder,
really
tactical combat casualty care, something that is so important and critical to all of us. We're trying to save our buddies' lives. And then there's fun events, right? You got an axe throw, you have a wall climb, you have a grenade assault course, you have a door breach. Door breach is usually a fan favorite.
Yeah, of course. Lots of sparks and saws and noise
and then functional fitness event, a max chin-up event, and then they're actually going to fly back to Camp Darby, where they're going to do a brigade mystery event. We don't know what it is. And then they prepare for the worst night of their lives, the night land navigation, which is another 20 to 24 miles you're moving.
Yeah, under a heavy load.
Right.
Cross country,
not on the roads.
Right, not on
the roads. Moving on roads. You're going through every single tree, wood in the area you can imagine out in the Fort Benning training area.
Using those skills.
Brutal.
Using a map and compass. Good times.
So then they wake up. Only 16 teams will advance to day 3. And so those 16 teams will start out at Camp Darby. They're going to do the Darby Queen. We'll be streaming that. And then they're going to fly over to Blaine over at Victory Pond, where they're going to have the poncho raft / helocast, the Zodiac, combat water survival assessment.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what that Zodiac's going to be. Because we've seen the Helocast before.
Yeah.
We know what that's like. It's a tough event, but I'm curious to see what that Zodiac event's going to be. Yeah, like I said, the competition in its core is very much the same as when I did it 32 years ago. It's very hard. It's very tough. But some of the events, some of the things change to challenge people. I know I heard of one event that's coming. Man, I'm just like, wow, that it blows my mind how sadistic that is. That
Good word.
it's definitely going to test and separate some of the teams, and it's going to challenge them for sure. But man, I'm so looking forward to just watching the next 3 days unfold over this beautiful, forbidding
Yep.
landscape.
And then we got our final 16 teams. They're going to do the final buddy run. They're going to do a buddy run back here to Camp Rogers. They'll be complete. And then we're actually all going to shuttle over to the National Infantry Museum, where we're going to have super supper. It's the informal award ceremony. We'll also have that action as well. And that's going to be the next 2.5, 3 days. And it's going to be wild, fast. Everyone's going to be tired. It's going to be inspiring. Can't wait.
I can't wait to go watch all these guys. It's going to be great.
It's going to be awesome. For the competition, we already mentioned before those teams that are competing. We got 2 different competitors this year that are competing their 4th time. And then we have those 17 teams overall who have somebody who's competed before in the past. So it'll be a unique competition. If your team has not competed before, this is a great year that they'll have the ability to finish and do well because of a little bit less experience in the competition. That can benefit for them, especially when not everybody understands maybe like the unique flow action or bottlenecks or things that come to you your 2nd or 3rd time.
Yeah, like I said, man. I mean, this is just a great event. You bring in, it's a Ranger reunion, if you will. Everybody comes in and roots for these guys. They're the best of the best, right? And so everybody wants to come in and watch them showcase their skills and their talents. And Jay and I are going to do our best to get as much of what they're doing here to you guys out there. So
we're going to have we'll drop the link for Black Ohm so you can just kind of track where your individual teams are. We'll almost always have 2 streams going. Only time we won't is probably in the morning where we're just doing one mass start run. And then we're going to bounce back and forth as best we can to get the most action possible, because that's really going to be the goal here, is seeing the Rangers conducting the urban assault course, conducting curling range, doing these things that are active to really put them on display, because they're incredible individuals, great leaders for their units, and exactly what we want and everybody to aspire to be in the Army.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I'm stoked as well.
We just need to hydrate a little, I think.
We need to hydrate. We need to get our sleep tonight, too, because it's going to be an early morning tomorrow morning. Yeah, but we'll engage with the comments as best we can. Obviously, right now we can't do it because we're out here. But once tomorrow we're locked in, you ask those questions, we'll try to answer them to the best of our ability. Yeah, that's our goal, is to make it as interactive as possible.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to it.
Blaine, I'm excited. I'll shut off the stream now. Thanks so much for watching this intro.